What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Day 7. Today was packed, so let's get right into it. First up, my DSA lecture. We're diving into a new topic, stacks, covering implementations with lists, linked lists, and decks. First, what is a stack? Think of a narrow bookshelf. The first book you put in goes to the bottom. The last book you add ends up on top, and it's the only one you can take out first. This principle is called last in, first out, or LIFO. A stack has three main functions: push, to add an element to the top, pop, to remove the top element, and peek, to just look at the top element. We learned that implementing this with Python lists is simple. You just use the built-in append and pop methods. Using a linked list was more complex. You have to carefully manage the nodes and pointers, especially for edge cases. Adding a new element means creating a new head, making its next pointer point to the old head, and then officially updating the head. Popping also requires carefully relinking those connections. After DSA, I moved on to my machine learning practice. It was time to get a deeper understanding of linear regression and how to actually plot the data. I got some help from AI and a YouTube video, and they gave this great analogy. To build a linear regression model from scratch, you need three key components: a cost function, a gradient function, a gradient descent function. Here's the analogy: imagine you are standing on a foggy hill. This hill is your cost function. The higher up you are on the hill, the higher your model's error is. Your goal is to get to the very bottom of the valley, where the error is at its absolute minimum. Because it's foggy, you can only see one step ahead. But you have a compass. This compass is your gradient function. It always points in the direction of the steepest uphill path. Since your goal is to go down, to reduce the error, you just have to move in the exact opposite direction that the compass is pointing. Finally, your steps are the gradient descent function. Every step you take in that correct downhill direction, you're moving a little closer to the valley. The gradient descent function is just the process of taking these steps, and as you do, your error gets lower and lower until you reach the bottom. I spent some time reading the code and understanding all the math behind how these three functions work together. Then, it was time to code the linear regression model myself. First, I downloaded a dataset from Kaggle for ice cream sales. It has two columns, temperature and sales profit. The goal was to see if profits increase as the temperature rises. I opened VS Code and started writing the code, importing the necessary libraries, Pandas for handling the data, NumPy for all the math operations, and Matplotlib for plotting the final graph. I started writing the code for the cost, gradient, and gradient descent functions we just talked about. When I first tried to run my code, I got an error: no CSV file found. I was confused. I just downloaded it. I took help from AI, which pointed out that the CSV file has to be in the exact same repository as the Python code file. A classic mistake. I dragged the file into the right folder, ran the code again, and finally, it worked. I got my linear regression model. As you can see, there's a clear positive correlation. As the temperature increases, the ice cream sales profit rises. My own quick analysis is that the sweet spot is between 65 degrees Fahrenheit and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when the demand is at its highest. It's increasing overall, but that's the key zone. Next up, it was time for my daily language practice. Today's focus was German. I'm incredibly happy to report that I've officially extended my Duolingo streak to day 291. It's amazing to see that number keep climbing every day. Today's lesson focused on some really practical vocabulary. I picked up a few key new words. We learned schwer, which means difficult, and its direct opposite, einfach, which means easy. So I could say, Deutsch ist manchmal schwer, aber nicht unmöglich. German is sometimes difficult, but not impossible. I learned Französisch for French. We also drilled some essential possessive pronouns, like sein, his, and her. And finally, the useful adverb ne, which means only. I got to put that last one into practice right away with the sentence, "Ich spreche Deutsch," which, as you might guess, translates to "I only speak German." Don't worry, it's not true yet, but we're working on it. And, as a great bonus while I was hitting my lessons, I checked the leaderboard and I've climbed all the way to the top of the weekly leaderboard. It's a fantastic feeling to see that consistency paying off. Auf Wiedersehen. Next up was my trading session. As always, I pulled up my trading terminal, the Forex Factory calendar, and TradingView to analyze the price movement. I jumped straight onto Zorst gold, but it was pretty surprising. I couldn't figure out how the market was moving. It was a very strange price action for me. I tried to read it, marking the session highs and lows and the 4-hour highs and lows. I looked for a potential trade on the lower timeframe and even marked my entry point on the chart. But the market was just acting too choppy and wasn't ready to hit my entry point. I wasn't ready to wait in front of the desk all day, so I had to call it a day and not take any trade. I waited for my setup, but it just didn't form, so I skipped it. Funnily enough, when I checked back in later, I found out the market did eventually move according to my setup. Sadly, I couldn't wait for it, but that's part of the discipline. We'll take a trade tomorrow. After that, it was LeetCode time, where I applied the stack knowledge from my morning DSA lecture. The first question was valid parentheses. This checks if an entered set of parentheses is valid, meaning they open and close with the same type in the correct order. My approach was to split the given brackets in half. I put the first 3 into a stack, and the other 3 remained in the list. Since a stack is last in, first out, I pulled the top element from the stack and checked it against the first element of the list, using a mapper to see if they matched. I repeated this, and if they all matched, I returned true, otherwise, false. The next question was next greater element. For this, you have 2 lists. For example, in 4, 1, 2, you check from the first element, 4. You look ahead, 1 is not greater, 2 is not greater, and the list is done. So, you return -1. Next is 1. The next element is 2, which is greater, so you return 2. Finally, for 2, there's no element next to it, so you return -1. I worked through that logic for both arrays, and that was it for my 2 LeetCode questions for the day.
Life is always giving you a test, trying to give you a way out, trying to give you an excuse not to show up. This is my excuse today. But guess what? You gotta have the mentality to show up every fucking day of your life, no matter what life throws at you. It's our responsibility to show up to the Coliseum of life, prepared for fucking battle. I don't care what you're going through, what life's throwing at you. It's your responsibility to find your new 100%. I'm a big believer in doing something that sucks every single day of your life. Every day you're trying to find more of what you're capable of. And that's the big question. What are you capable of? Stop doing the things that you do every day. Do the shit that no one else wants to.
After reading, I moved forward with my quant prep. For this, I had to continue with my differentiation practice and understanding how it works. I started by practicing and solving examples of the first principle rule before moving to the actual exercise. I focused on solving more questions related to trigonometric functions because that's a part where I struggle. I solved as many examples as I could involving trig identities. Finally, it was time for the exercise part. Today was pull day. For my back, I hit 3 sets of lat pull-downs, 2 sets of seated wide grip rows, 2 sets of rope pullovers, 2 sets of barbell shrugs, and 2 sets of good mornings for my lower back. Next up were biceps, for which I did 2 sets of hammer curls for the brachioradialis, 2 sets of preacher dumbbell curls for the short head, and 2 sets of inclined bicep curls for the long head. And that was all for day 7. I'll meet you guys tomorrow for day 8.
Day 7's hill is climbed. But what's in the fog tomorrow?